Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a really fascinating one for you today.
We really do.
We're diving into some source material shared by one of our listeners. It's basically an audio diary.
Yeah, capturing a very simple, everyday journey. A short drive to the grocery store, just, what, 2 miles away?
Exactly, 2 miles. And our mission here really is to unpack the detailed observations made during this, seemingly mundane trip.
Right, because based only on what they saw and experienced on this drive, our source draws some, well, potentially pretty unsettling conclusions about the world around us.
Yeah, the core claim presented in this source material it's quite something.
It really is. It's the idea that surprisingly mundane things in our environment,
Things like road layouts, traffic patterns.
even how map apps estimate your travel time,
Yeah.
these might actually be part of a deliberate, an intentional system.
A system designed specifically to control and slow us down. That's the argument from the source anyway.
Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack this perspective.
All right, let's start where the source begins the trip. They note the time they leave the house, 8:04 a.m.
Okay, 8:04 a.m. destination, the grocery store, stated as exactly 2 miles away.
And importantly, they check their map apps. They mention MapQuest, Google, others,
Uh-huh.
which estimate the trip should take just like 5 to 7 minutes.
Right, and one app even specifically says, traffic 7 minutes. It's factored in.
So right out of the gate, just leaving their street, the first observation is waiting for cars to exit ahead of them.
And what's interesting is the source makes a point of saying this particular exit was pretty good.
Yeah, which immediately implies that often just pulling out onto the road takes, well, significantly longer.
It's a small delay, sure, but the source highlights it. It's the very first hurdle they mention.
And this is where the source introduces their central assertion almost immediately.
Yeah, they state that, in their view, all roads are set up in ways to pretty much slow you down.
Pretty direct. And they follow this up by saying the whole system is set up to confuse and stop you from traveling fast.
So it's not just random bad luck or isolated incidents for them. They're framing it as a foundational design principle.
Yeah, and they offer specific examples based on the layouts they see or think about,
Right, they mention things like dead-end streets, U-turns, circles,
on what they describe as horseshoe-type streets.
all presented as ways towns and roads are, well, allegedly designed to impede straightforward travel.
The source is really emphatic here. They say it's all by design.
And claims it's been designed for a very long time. So, in their perspective, none of this is accidental. It's quite deliberate.
What's particularly fascinating, I think, is they even bring in a somewhat unexpected comparison: trains.
Ah, yes, the trains. They describe seeing commuter trains going through backyards, where trees and houses are very close to the tracks.
And they argue that this closeness gives the appearance of speed. It makes you feel like the train is going incredibly fast.
But, the source claims, trains don't actually travel faster than cars, in reality. That's their take on it.
And they add another observation about trains that links back to this whole slowing down theme.
Okay.
They claim trains always seem to slow down significantly near road crossings where cars are forced to wait.
Ah, okay. So, again, this is interpreted by the source as another instance of intentional slowing down. Part of this broader design to stop people moving quickly.
But the most frequent point of frustration, and I guess the primary evidence the source highlights on this specific trip, seems to be the traffic lights.
Right. They describe being stuck in traffic and immediately blame the lights for the slowdown.
And they make a specific, very granular observation about one light ahead of them, noting it only seems to last about, 60 seconds before turning red again?
Just 60 seconds, yeah.
And this point about the lights, it ties into their larger perspective on road design.
How so?
Well, the source suggests that these lights, and the whole road network really, essentially force traffic onto main roads, often riding vehicles through downtown areas.
Okay, I see. And this, they claim, makes travel convoluted.
Exactly. Convoluted for a very specific, intentional reason, according to them.
And this is where the source really zooms out, doesn't it? Takes these local observations and connects them to something much, much bigger.
Oh, yeah. A truly significant and, frankly, quite startling claim.
They assert that this entire system, they're describing the roads, the town layouts, the lights,
Even the map systems, down to this local level.
is designed, and I quote, to protect the United States being half the size.
Yes, you heard that right. The source states this directly from their viewpoint.
They claim this system of slowing people down locally is somehow tied into a larger deception about the geographical scale of the United States.
Suggesting it's only half its stated size? Or maybe even smaller, though half the size is the figure they use repeatedly.
Wow. And they also express a belief, don't they, that other conspiracy channels are kind of missing this.
Yeah, they say they're hiding this truth.
Yeah.
So, in their view, this simple 2-mile trip is actually evidence of a massive continent-wide deception.
That's quite a leap from a traffic light.
It certainly is. Okay, let's look at some more of the observational evidence they cite during the trip to support this.
Right. Back to the red light.
Yeah.
They talk about camera perspective, claiming it distorts distance, makes things look much further away than they really are.
They give concrete examples, too. A truck just 6 feet away, a brick building maybe 15 feet away.
And a sign on that building only 20 feet away.
Appearing incredibly distant when viewed through a camera lens, like a dash cam or phone camera.
And the source interprets this visual distortion as, well, more proof that even our visual perception through technology is screwed up.
Or intentionally misleading, yeah, contributing to the overall deception about distance.
They also draw a comparison between local road paving projects
Yeah.
and big highway construction delays.
Right, as further evidence of intentional design or maybe skewed priorities aimed at slowing things down.
They note that their own street and like 3 connecting roads were paved incredibly quickly. What was it?
Just about 2 hours, they claim.
2 hours. And they contrast this with their observation that a major highway project, Route 95 near Westwood,
Has seemingly been under construction for, they claim, 12 years.
12 years. So that stark contrast, in their view, highlights these deliberate differences in speed and priority. It all fits their narrative of intentional impediment.
Okay, so bringing the journey on this audio diary to a close. The source shows their trip odometer upon arrival.
And it indeed still reads exactly 2 miles, matches the initial distance.
So the distance checks out, but the total travel time recorded when they finally reach the grocery store?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. And the source specifically highlights this 8 minutes as what they consider the maximum time it should ever take.
Ah, but here's the kicker. Sometimes that exact same 2-mile trip takes them.
Literally 15 minutes, they say.
15 minutes for 2 miles. Wow.
Yeah, so this perceived variability and the frequent experience of taking much, much longer than the estimate, that's really central to their feeling of being intentionally slowed.
I can see how that would be frustrating, regardless of the reason.
Absolutely. So the source's final conclusion, drawn from all these specific observations during this, seemingly simple 2-mile drive.
The traffic weights, the road layouts, the traffic light timing, those train observations.
The camera perspective point, the paving contrast, the variability in travel time, all of it.
Their conclusion is that this intentional slowing is ridiculous.
That it is unequivocally by design. And that, in their words, we're being screwed and told lies.
Lies about the reality of travel and, ultimately, geography itself.
So, synthesizing the source's perspective for you, the listener, what they present is a world where even a quick run to the grocery store isn't just subject to, random traffic jams.
No, in their view, it's a demonstration of an intentional system designed to slow us down at every single turn.
From the foundational layout of streets to the very timing of traffic lights.
And they strongly connect this deeply local, personal observation to a much, much grander, almost unbelievable claim about geographical distances themselves being fundamentally misrepresented.
On a national scale, no less.
It truly makes you pause and consider the layers of interpretation applied here, doesn't it?
Definitely. A simple 2-mile drive became, for the source, a really profound examination of infrastructure, perceived travel times.
And the basis for a deeply held belief about the very nature of reality and geographical scale. It's quite the journey, intellectually speaking.
The source material, in its specificity and just the sheer breadth of its conclusion, it's quite remarkable.
Yeah, the idea that urban planning and road design might be deliberately hindering movement. Yeah, maybe some people might entertain that.
But then tying that so directly to a conspiracy about the literal size of the United States.
That's certainly a unique perspective derived from, well, everyday experience, a very specific interpretation of it.
And then this raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider, one that stems directly from the source's viewpoint here.
Think about your own daily commute, or even just those short trips you make regularly, the run to the store, school drop-off, whatever it is.
How do the traffic patterns you experience, the layout of the roads you take, the time estimates from your map apps, how do they compare to the reality of your travel time?
Does the source's perspective, this idea that these things might be intentionally designed to slow you down as part of some larger system, does that change how you might look at the streets and routes you navigate every single day?
Something to think about next time you're stuck at a red light, perhaps.